Today's subject is about the ladderback jacquard. The pattern is plant the seed. The hat is a special design that I came up with for Bandera Fiber and Arts Week. And you don't have to use it a lot. You can basically do a lot of stranding, just simple, everyday. But when you get up into the flowers, you're going to have to address some issues with the long color changes. So here, at one point, you have over 7 stitches across, and that's where ladderback jacquard comes in handy. What it does is it creates a stretchier fabric and doesn't leave a noticeable exchange, if that makes sense, or change. So, on to part 1 of this tutorial. First, I want to apologize for the condition of my hands. These are hands of a woman who works hard on a farm. Second, I wanted to show you things that might happen if you miss a step. This is all done on purpose, by the way. Here you can see I've got this color that I'm carrying up in my petal, and I've carried it in 2 sections where it gets widest. You might find it easier to have 2 sections. But I start out with using it in a knit version. Well, there's a mistake there. And the mistake is that there's nothing to connect this column to this column, because ultimately this column is going to disappear. What helps to carry these 2 columns together is how you carry your yarns. So you can see right there that I have 2 colors that are coming across. So while I may be working with this alternate color in the background, this color has to come with it in order to bring those 2 colors together. So far, I can tell you that there's no perfect way. You either do the knit or you do a purl. And I'm going to show you essentially how to get started. But what happens when you don't bring those 2 worlds together, you get these really cool looking gaps. And yes, it can become a design feature for a future project, but it needs to be intentional. We want to intentionally get this right so that you have a petal and nobody knows that you carried this color across all the way without any issues. The other thing I want you to see is the difference in the backside. You cannot do this in flat. Sorry, I keep shaking my table, but you cannot do this in the flat. You have to do this in the round. And the reason being that if you're going back and forth, all of this is going to get all twisted and tangled up, and you'll never get that clean line. But this is what the backside looks like when you have a long carry. And the only difference is you can see there's a purl stitch here where I knit on the other side, and then there's a knit stitch here where I purled on the other side. And here's where you can tell that something's not right. See this line there? That line actually should be in the front. So now that you've had a little overview of what not to do, we're going to talk about what you should do. Okay, I'm back for, I think, part 2. Could be part 3, but I think we're in part 2. So we're going to hit what I call the ultimate conundrum. The ultimate conundrum is this is a decrease, and our brains say, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. But we're not just having a physical decrease in the pattern where we're shaping the hat, but we're also having a decrease in the color. So you will not have 4 stitches left over. You're going to only have 2, because 1 is going to get eaten up by the darker color, and 2 are going to get eaten up by the decrease. So how does this affect you? So let's just go back. So we're going to, this is where we're at right now. Okay, I'm backing myself up because it was something that I realized as I was knitting forward, and I know I have to explain this to you. Here we have 3, and ignore that squiggly because it's going to be all edited. you're going to go in, and this is the start of your pattern repeat right here. And we're going to go ahead and do 1 and 2, because number 3 now is going to be your darker color. And we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. What are we going to do? We're going to bring both colors forward. Come on, behave. So you're going to purl the blue. Oh, come on, hands. Purl the blue. Bring both colors back. Working, I like to separate the colors back out again. There's a lot more cumbersome handwork when I do things the way that I do them. So find your efficient way. Find the way that makes you comfortable, whatever your teacher has taught you. But now we've done those two. We matched them up here on our pattern, right there. Now we're going to cut into the blue. That's number 1, okay? We're going to decrease 2. That's 2 and 3. We're going to bring our yarn forward, and we're not getting rid of this one just yet because, as you can see, there's still a gap between the blues sections that has to be met. Otherwise, you're going to have tension issues. You're going to go back in. You're going to knit 1, and that's your 2 stitches, sorry. So you've done this, the 3, which takes over the 1. That's 2 and 3, and that's number 4. So now you only have 2 stitches left, okay, going up on this side until you get to the next decrease. So now we're going to start the next pattern repeat. 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn A, yarn B, purl your blue, yarn to the back, yarn to the back, 1, 2, 3. That gives you 7 stitches. Now we're going to take, since we've already knit the number 1 of the 4 using the alternate color, we're going to decrease, yarn in front, purl, yarn in back, knit, and that's the end of your pattern repeat. Okay, so we're on to, gosh, maybe part 3 or 4 now. I have my notepad going because I'm discovering things that, you know, for a designer, they would be obvious to me because as I was going along, it made sense. But if I were to sit down unaware of the pattern or how it works, and I'm just trusting that each row is going to flow the way that it should, I have come to the realization that there are some answers that need to be put out there before you get concerned with your questions. For starters, we are now, I've already made one boo-boo. I actually have to go back, but now we're going to problem solve one thing. In going back, you always just, so for the beginners, or for people who are still, you know, struggling a little bit with undoing your work, in color work, I find it's best to work from the front, but you can work from the back. We're in the round, so it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to undo. But remember, when you're undoing your ladderback jacquard stitch here, you just go back in. You're going to scoop in from the front and pick it up, okay? And then pull that out. And then yarns to the back. Pick up, pick up, pick up, pick up. So, one of the mistakes that I made is where I set our ladderback jacquard. And while I'm sitting here talking to you, I have a dog on the top of a pile of hay, and I can see him from the window, but I can't show him to you because then I'll not be able to get my camera set back the way I should. We're going to do this stitch because, as you can see on row number 3, we're now down to one blue at the start. So you have one blue, one green, two green, and now I'm four green. The recommendation always is to never go further than four when you're doing any kind of color work. And the reason being that, you know, if you're really good at it, you could probably crisscross across 10, you know, and still maintain your elasticity without having any bubbles or bulges. But where I've placed our ladderback jacquard, it's not in the optimal position. So I have the responsibility now. If I were going to redo this, notice that I've made my adjustment. And again, if I didn't provide this information for you, a lot of times the recommendation is, oh, use ladderback jacquard. It's so much easier. Well, they never tell you exactly, specifically, you know, hey, plan ahead, plan ahead. Well, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to plan ahead for you. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 5th stitch. I'm going to go ahead and reestablish, or start again, I guess is the better word. I'm going to start a new ladderback section. And then, no, it's not going to hurt anything because I've taken the mother loop, right? We're going to bring our yarns to the back, and I'm going to go ahead and knit my green. So the way to end your ladderback jacquard is to go in from the front, and you're going to knit 2 together. And look, already notice that your stitches are behind. And after you've done some blocking and some finagling, it'll become even less obvious. So it just, once you get done, you don't panic if you see something through, stop messing with it. Have faith, go back to your main color for that section, and continue forward. So essentially, I will have to reset all of my ladderback jacquards so that they're now in the center. And guess what? I made another boo-boo. So we get to go back again one more time. While I was trying to explain that to you, just to show you how human I am, now we're coming across where those knit 2 togethers are. Sorry, you can't see that in the video, where the knit 2 together is. We're coming across that. We're going to have a green there. Then we're going to bring yarns forward. I'm going to do this. Bring our yarns to the back. Yes, I'm working with one hand right now. Just bear with me. And how many stitches should we have left? We should have 2 stitches left. Why? Because of those 2 stitches, we knit one with the main color for that section in that green, ladderback jacquard stitch, last blue stitch, number 2. Okay, so that's how that's going to work. So all I did was I reset my ladderback jacquard loop into the center. Now, on the pattern, you're going to see it the way that it's supposed to be. The way it reads here, don't get confused. This is your ladderback jacquard stitch. This is meant to disappear. So if it bugs you, you go back. You have to still pick that stitch back up again. Release it. Knowing that I had my yarn in front, I have to undo that. So see, even I'm a human, I make mistakes. With the primary color, all you're going to do is knit that. And that will, believe it or not, it will actually disappear into the back. And now I have my 2 stitches. I don't need a ladderback jacquard anymore in the blue section. You won't need it ever again. And we're ready to begin this section again over. So I'm going to repeat my work so that you understand. 1. Now I have 2 is my green. 2, 3, 4. Yarn to the front, yarn to the front. Pick up the mother loop, put it on the needle. I am going to use the blue. Go ahead, bring yarn to the back, yarn to the back. You're going to knit that stitch. Then we're going to take those two, knit them together, and end that cross section right there. Then we have, that's 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Then we're going to, oops, looks like my yarn got split, and that happens. I'm going to put it back on there. I'm going to take that, I'm going to take my blue, I'm going to knit that ladderback jacquard loop off, and now we're back at the beginning again. Hopefully that makes sense. Now for a quick recap. For a quick recap, I think it's important that we talk about what not to do and what we should do. So, what not to do. You want to make sure that you always bring both yarns to the front, because if you don't, this is what's going to happen. You can knit your stitch in the ladderback jacquard pattern, or you can do a purl. I prefer the purl. And the reason being is the way that it hangs in the back, you don't have those purl bumps in the back side. You have a nice smooth finish. 2, when you're bringing them together, you want to make sure, first of all, that you're still maintaining a certain amount of tension. So you don't want it to be tight. So look at how balanced that is. You have good stretch, but even though it's done wrong, you still have good stretch. Now, when you're doing the ladderback jacquard, again, this is a refresher, and I'm just going to mess with my project and knowing that I can show you how to start it and how to finish it. So let's say we need to put a ladderback jacquard stitch right there. We're going to go ahead and knit our blue. I'm going to knit 2 green. Okay? Yarn to the front, yarn to the front. You're going to pick up the mother stitch, and you're going from the back, you're going to put it up on there, go in, purl, bring down to the back, there we go, and then go ahead and knit 1 and 2. I'm here, I'm at my jacquard, I want to close it off. I'm just going to take those 2 stitches, I'm going to take them in color, and I'm going to knit them off. Okay, and what happens is you will have everything fall to the back there. So see how nice and stretchy that is? You're not going to see it. Once you block it out, everything will relax, go where it needs to go, but it gives you a great finish, but it helps you solve the problem of carrying in long colored patterns like this, okay? Hopefully that helps. Thank you for joining me. I will get my pattern fixed and with my updated notes, and I'm glad I didn't post this on Ravelry just yet, but for my students who are watching this video, I appreciate you. Thank you so much and have a great day.